Hey guys, Bound here, and today I'm going to be talking about Pokemon Champions. And if you guys didn't know, Pokemon Champions is a battle simulator or battle focused game that's going to be coming out for the Nintendo Switch and also mobile devices. Later on in the year, the release date is not determined, but it's been said that Pokemon Champions will release before the end of the year. And yeah, it's a competitive focused game. We don't know how the Pokemon will be acquired or how you can get it, but we do know that you can transfer Pokemon from Pokemon Home to Pokemon Champions. But the thing is, it will be limited to those that appear in Pokemon Champions. But there's a few questions related to that I'm going to answer later on. But yeah, it's a competitive focused game, just like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, you have ranked battles. You can do ranked battles, casual battles, or just, private battles, link battles or whatever. Yeah, similar concept to the Battle Stadium and just Pokemon in general. But I guess the one question I've been seeing out there is, does this game support single battles? Because obviously a lot of the trailer and, advertisement for the game has been around doubles. But on the website, there's kind of proof right here, this picture, that it's single battles. As you can see, it's one Pokemon versus one right here. And also briefly in the trailer, it does show a clip, a very short clip of two Pokemon just fighting against each other, not in doubles. So that pretty much confirms that 3v3 will be returning, because as mentioned in a previous video I made, Pokemon will not be returning, or will never be doing 6v6 battles for their singles format. And you can watch that video linked in the description down below as to why Game Freak does not support 6v6 and will not support a 6v6 ever. And so yeah, so let's talk about singles, right? And also Pokemon Champions will have Terastallization and Mega Evolution as supported by these pictures. You have the Mega Charizard X and the Dondozo as well. Terastallized Dondozo. So, yeah, those gimmicks will be available. Two gimmicks in the same game. So we have never seen that ever, besides Z moves and Megas, but that's a little bit different. Terastallization as a mechanic is more impactful than Z moves. Although Z moves can be like abruptly just change the match, but that's a discussion for another video. But yeah, that's pretty much the concept of Pokemon Champions. And so a common question I've been seeing out there is, will all Pokemon eventually be available in Pokemon Champions? So as we've seen in previous Pokemon games, they have DLCs, and the DLCs add other Pokemon into the game eventually. Now, with Pokemon Champions having a lot of some Pokemon that weren't in Scarlet and Violet, like Aegislash, some other like Aegislash is confirmed. There's some other Pokemon that I've seen in the trailer. I kind of forgot what they were, but yeah, there's going to be Pokemon that weren't in Scarlet and Violet in Pokemon Champions, so there's going to be some new kind of interactions going on with the new mechanics of Generation 9 and the previous Pokemon. So that's going to be interesting. And then also, this website I found where, it just shows the Pokemon missing from Scarlet and Violet. And also, as you can kind of see from the thumbnail, the Terastallization Ninja. Obviously, with Terastallization, being a mechanic, you have Pokemon. It kind of makes Game Freak have to consider what Pokemon they allow into the game. So the question of will all Pokemon appear in Pokemon Champions, I'm saying it's not going to happen. However, some people say it will happen. So we'll just have to see what happens. But like I said, with Shedinja, like if you have Electric Tear with Air Balloon, it makes it so that a Pokemon cannot hit it at all. Unless, you have Sandstorm, Hail, or a Burn or Poison or something like that. A lot of people consider Shedinja to be bad just because those conditions are very common. But in a neutral game state, Shedinja, that version of Shedinja with Terastallized and Air Balloon is very strong, because you can't really touch it, especially if you're like a Solvest Pokemon or any type of attacker cannot touch it, because it doesn't have that ability to just burn it or poison it, get the Sandstorm up and all that, which kills it, which is the only way if you can kill it. So that's one example of Terastallization being broken, like literally breaking the game in terms of Pokemon that are not in Scarlet and Violet. And also, yeah, there's some other Pokemon aren't obviously they don't break the game with Terastallization, but they can heavily impact the game. Like for example, Ferrothorn, as you may know, is a very common defensive Pokemon, or at least was a very common defensive Pokemon in Generation 7 and 8. You know, Generation 5, 6, 7, and 8, pretty much. And it has a Grass and Steel typing, so only one weakness to fire. So when you give this thing the option to Terastallize, it can be a very troublesome Pokemon to deal with, especially since it has Leech Seed and Protect, and that's what a lot of them tend to run. You know, it could also get knockoff, stab moves like Gyro Ball, Power Whip, and even Bullet Seed to break through, like, you know, substitutes and all that, or just to have the multi-hit. So it has a lot of options. We didn't see this Pokemon in Generation 9 because it wasn't in the game, but it does have a lot of potential to shake up the game as well. Another Pokemon is Darmanitan, right? So we have not only the regular Darmanitan we have the Galarian Darmanitan as well, which, as you may remember, has been a very strong Pokemon in Generation 8. In 3v3, it was relatively strong. It wasn't as strong as it obviously was in, you know, the unofficial formats for single 6v6. This Pokemon, I believe, got banned immediately, but that's just because of the nature of it's not designed for 6v6. But in 3v3, it's a good Pokemon. It's a threatening Pokemon. It's a balanced Pokemon in some ways due to Dynamax, because yeah, as you may remember, Dynamax limited this Pokemon's power, and while not really making its bulk that much better, and so Dynamaxing against it is good, and while this thing Dynamaxing isn't good for it itself. So yeah, that was the design. That was the intended design of Galarian Darmanitan. But however, with Terastallization and Dynamax out of the picture, this Pokemon has the potential to be very strong. You know, Icicle Crash, you know, being very strong, threatening flinches, just like Chien-Pao. Like, I don't know if the Icicle Crashes are as strong as Chien-Pao's, just because Chien-Pao has, no, it's not as strong. Because with the Gorilla Tactics and the high attack stat, it might actually be better than Chien-Pao's Icicle Crash. Yeah, I think it's better than Chien-Pao's Icicle Crash, so that's something to look out for. It has the ability to U-turn, so that's also something Chien-Pao cannot do. Flare Blitz. This thing gets Flare Blitz, even though it's an Ice-type Pokemon. It gets Flare Blitz, so it's able to threaten Steel types that resist Icicle Crash, so that's very strong. And then it also gets things like Earthquake and Superpower, so able to threaten different Pokemon depending on what you want to deal with. And so this Pokemon is very strong. Obviously, if it's like, and because the weakness of this is, you know, Ice typing defensively is not that good. Weak to Stealth Rock, just has some common weaknesses like fighting fire, you know, and then on top of that, it's frail. So not that hard to revenge kill. However, with Dynamax being gone, this thing is going to be something to watch out for if it's allowed back into the game. And yeah, there's a lot more examples as well. Now, some other Pokemon I want to talk about are the fossil Pokemon from Generation 8. So, you know, Dracozolt, Arctozolt, Dracovish, Arctovish. These Pokemon have special moves that boost the power, or that basically double in power if they're faster than the opponent. And so, with Terastallization, you can Terra in that type of the move to boost it even more. And so that could be a very dreaded thing. For example, Dracovish was very strong due to Vicious Rend. You know, that move itself kind of carried Dracovish, but yeah, with the Choice Scarf, you can outspeed a lot of things and just threaten one at KOs, which was very scary. And then with Terastallization, you can also like increase or decrease its ability to get revenge killed if you use a defensive Terra, and then also if you Terra Water, Vicious Rend is just gonna just do even more damage if you already didn't need that power. So that's kind of crazy. But again, that's just the power of Terastallization. Yeah, that's just pretty much it. And it's going to increase the breaking power of a lot of Pokemon, which is, in my opinion, a really good thing, because with Generation 9 we did get a lot of strong defensive Pokemon, triple unaware, so, you know, Clodsire, Skeledirge, Dondozo. And then, you got super tanks like Garganical, stuff like that. So, having the immediate power is going to be really helpful, especially with Mega Evolution. So another thing that Mega Evolution does for Pokemon Champions is offsets the randomness of Terastallization. So as you may know, Generation 9 is known for being... battles are known for having randomness due to you not knowing the opponent's Terastallization immediately. And every player loses matches just because, they ran into a unfavorable Terastallization matchup. And so having Mega Evolutions allows you to offset the randomness a little bit just because you have additional power and speed to just control situations and just have the ability to, offset the opponent's gain from Terastallization while maintaining stability of your own. So that's going to be interesting to see how the two mechanics interact with each other. Because like I said, we haven't seen two major mechanics in the same game. I wouldn't count Z moves as a major mechanic. So yeah, that's pretty much what the things I wanted to go over. Just kind of going over the concepts of Pokemon Champions, kind of explaining the punishments or just the limitations of potentially including all the Pokemon in the game, because there are people saying that it will happen, but I really don't think it's going to happen, just because of integral mechanics of the game. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed that video, and I'll see you on the next one.